All right, so yes,
Can I say
Tanya,
one thing?
PSA.
Okay, you asked me up here, so
Yes.
now I'm going to interrupt.
It's your
So
show.
we just heard Jensen over and over and over and over. And so I just wanted to pay homage here to NetApp and to some of the talent we have in Wichita and in Kansas. So NetApp is here in Wichita because they bought and acquired LSI Logic. Anybody remember LSI Logic? Okay, LSI Logic, some of my co-workers that I used to work with, I worked at LSI and NetApp. LSI Logic was what used to be NCR. That's what started here many, many decades ago of talented engineers in Wichita. National Cash Registers, our first computer, LSI Logic, and then NetApp bought them. So LSI was a semiconductor company. They moved up the stack and started making customized storage and then OEM'd it to IBM, Dell, Oracle, SGI, all of that. NetApp bought them. So why did I tell you all of that? So where did Jensen work? What was his last job before he started NVIDIA? LSI Logic. Yeah. Wow. He worked in Milpitas in the corporate office, but he has been to Wichita many, many times, has worked with many of our engineers and the talent here in Wichita. And outside in the lobby, there is a large patent wall out there, and it says NetApp patents on it. But really, those are the patents that NetApp acquired from LSI Logic, but they're only the patents from LSI Logic that are Wichita created. Okay, so every name out there and every patent out there is Wichita engineers that built part of the digital network. So I just had to interrupt because that's a really good little tidbit.
I'm glad you did. Thank you. Glad you did. I told you this venue was going to be inspiring. Wow. All right. Well, again, so we were out in the street. You were subterranean. We came into the building. Ivo brought our heart. We've got a lot of neat transactions and processing going on now. Let's talk about the building, the mission, and how that begins to advance transformation in America. Connected Nation Internet Exchange Points, LLC, CNIXP for short, is a 50-50 joint venture between our nonprofit Connected Nation and carrier hotel pioneer Hunter Newby through one of his corporations, Allied Colo, LLC. CNIXP's mission is to ensure that cities, towns, and rural areas across America can enjoy the benefits of low latency, lower cost, increased resiliency, and by creating carrier-neutral meet points where internet traffic can be exchanged. CNIXP has established a goal to double the number of IXPs in the U.S. by creating 125 new facilities across 44 states, including Kansas. Brent Legg is an 18-year veteran and an EVP of Connected Nation and is the driving force and leads this JV on behalf of our two organizations. Brent is going to tell you more about the facility that we're building here at WSU and how it will serve as the archetype for many others as we set out to transform interconnection here in America. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Brent Legg to the podium.
Hello, everyone. It's so good to see so many familiar faces in the room who have driven in from far-off places. I'm just curious, for those of you in the room who are not from Kansas, raise your hand. All right. So I'm going to start with a conversation around what we're actually doing here, right? We're building interconnection. We're building interconnection between people. We're building interconnection for real reasons, not for technology's sake, but to impact humanity. So one of the reasons I asked you that question was that's a demonstration of what this project is already starting to do, and we haven't even really begun construction over there yet, right? We're bringing together people from all parts of the country to come together, to connect with one another, to do something meaningful here that will drive economic development for the next 100 years in this community, based on the foundation of what Wichita State University and people like Tanya Witherspoon have been doing here for many years, right? This is the next level. So thank you to those of you who have come in from out of town. Thank you to those who are actually from here, who are so invested in your community that you feel like you've got to be part of this revolution. We couldn't be doing this without you. And so for the mayor's leadership, all the way down the stack, we've had tremendous local support to get this project off the ground, and we're building the model for what we want to do all across the country. So I mentioned last night at our dinner, this is going to be the alpha site that we replicate in markets all across the country. And so we'll always be pointing back to Wichita. So let's dive into specifically what we're doing here. So you can walk away with a good understanding of, okay, practically speaking, what's going to be happening here over the next 8 to 10 months. So let me start out first with just a high level, macro level understanding of what internet exchange points are. And it's really my privilege as the lead on our IXP development joint venture with Hunter to be able to travel around the country and talk about this and talk about why these facilities are fundamental to the next evolution of the AI ecosystem, to create the AI ecosystem as a fundamental part of that ecosystem. And so what we're doing here is going to be a model elsewhere. So internet exchange points simply are internet hubs. They allow local networks of all types, from internet service providers to transport providers to tier 1 carriers to mobile networks and education networks, and cloud and content providers and AI intelligence systems to interconnect and exchange data traffic locally. So Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Netflix, etc. This is called peering. That's an elementary term to some of you in the room. It may be a brand new term to others, but it's going to be something that you're going to become more familiar with. So the more internet exchange points there are, the better the internet will work. So the closer you are to an internet exchange point, the better your internet performance will be. This happens by reducing latency. That was a big subject of my friend Ivo's presentation a few minutes ago. Reducing latency, improving internet performance. So right now, the state of Kansas, the city of Wichita, is really wholly dependent upon internet traffic exchange in Kansas City, Missouri, in a building Hunter used to own, actually, at 1102 Grand Boulevard. Used to be managed by my friend Greg Elliott back here in the back. Or a building at 910 West 15th Street in Denver, right? So Wichita, from an internet perspective, was hanging off of those two cities primarily. And we're changing that. We're bringing the internet ecosystem that exists in those cities down to cities like Wichita. So there are 57 metros across the US, like Denver and Kansas City, where IXPs exist today. But there are 14 states, like Kansas, that has no IXP at all. And so we have set out on a goal, on a mission, to solve that problem. And as Tom said, to build 125 of these facilities in the US. So I've already sort of alluded to this talking point, but when a city like Wichita is hanging off of a city like Kansas City or Denver, you're backhauling that data traffic. You're tromboning it. Think of it as a trombone, literally. You're sending the data off far away to be exchanged and get a response back. So the further that trombone extension happens, the more latency that's introduced to every connection. So, when you go back to Ivo's presentation, you think about the applications that are going to demand super low latency in the future, well now, and more so even in the future. That physical distance, the physics of light, the physics of exchanging data traffic far off, we have to shorten that distance and bring that here, and that's what we're doing. So future internet performance is at risk if we don't build more of these facilities. So think of autonomous transportation systems and drones and AI and video streaming, two-way video, virtual reality, augmented reality. All of these things are going to increasingly become latency sensitive. And we can't materially reduce latency without an IXP. So there are multiple benefits, ultimately. Latency reduction, cost reduction, that was alluded to by a previous speaker, where we're creating a marketplace for competition. I think James talked about how bringing interconnection into a venue that was more neutral and allowed for multiple networks to interconnect with one another and compete with one another, that brings down wholesale costs. And it can bring that down by orders of magnitude, which then makes it possible for more people to buy more bandwidth. And then we're also creating a place where networks are actually converging and creating new routes for data traffic to be diversely routed from here, right? You're creating a place where networks build to and from. And so the Internet Exchange Point here at WSU will literally become the epicenter for network builds. It will be the address that networks build to and from in this region from now on, for the next 100 years. And that's extremely exciting that that's going to be right here in WSU's own backyard. So when we think of core infrastructure, core interconnection infrastructure, James, that's one of your manholes in my slide. Manholes, duct banks, neutral co-location, an IX switch fabric. Ivo, thank you for being our partner. It's so exciting to see Wichita pop up on that map of Ivo's global set of IXPs. Meet Me Room and Cross Connect, that's what Hunter has done throughout his career. Bringing cloud and content peering into the Wichita marketplace for the first time, and being able to significantly reduce wholesale IP transit costs here. So a lot of people have referred to the stack, or the what really is the OSI model here. You know, from the physical layer all the way up to the application layer. We like to say there's actually 8 layers to the OSI model, and layer 0 is the real estate. It's the things that we do and that James does, right? The IXP facilities, the conduit, the manholes, the handholes, that's the foundation to make everything above it. When you've heard from Aaron and Brian and Ivo, all of this has to exist in the physical real estate, and that's what we're going to build here. So our alpha site here at WSU is thanks to a $5 million grant from the state of Kansas, and I would be remiss if I did not call out Jade Pyros de Carvalho, the former state broadband director here in Kansas, who, if she had not gone out on a limb and had been a leader in this issue, on this issue, this whole project would not be happening. So I want to thank you, Jade. Thank you for the vision, for believing in us, that we're going to do this, and we're going to make a big difference in your home state of Kansas. We can't thank you enough. This facility is going to be built on 1.3 acres here on campus, donated by WSU and the Kansas Board of Regents, a 40-year ground lease, $1 a year. Think about that. So for 40 bucks, we're going to be able to deliver this facility and make this the epicenter for connectivity for the Wichita region and beyond. As you know, and many of you have seen, this campus is home to some amazing companies. And Wichita State has done an amazing job of building those relationships, that interconnection with industry, right? To attract major companies to campus, and Tanya's to credit for a lot of that. We're going to be building a 3-module, 2,000 square foot roughly facility, starting out as 25 cabinets, and Mike's presentation earlier talked about the modularity of that building. So we'll build the initial 3 modules, and then we'll be able to expand in 25 cabinet increments over time. And we can fit enough modules on that property over there to get to about 400 cabinets total, we think. It's going to start out at 350 kW, N+1 power and cooling. This is a network interconnection facility. It's not meant to be a data center. And we've talked about some of the reasons why. Data center demands, power demands, cooling demands are different than the interconnection infrastructure than we're building here. But by building this here, we're creating an environment where the entire ecosystem, all of the compute power that will result to be located here will hive around this facility. And this will become the geographic epicenter for AI in the central part of the US. That's extremely exciting. So we broke ground in May. We're going to be operational by late spring of next year. IM Data Centers, as we said, is our general contractor and our building manufacturer. So this is a view, if you see the little triangle there on the top of the screen, right across from X Stadium on the north side. The Kansas Free State Network is actually a state long-haul fiber conduit system that Jade's also to credit for. That's going to be built from western Kansas, from Pratt, through our building here in Wichita, all the way over to Pittsburgh State University, up to 1102 Grand Boulevard in Kansas City, Missouri, and down to Emporia. So that red line there, the conduit's actually going to be on both sides of the street. So that's pretty exciting. This is what it looks like from the opposite side. This is the parcel where you can see where we're starting sort of toward the right side of the parcel, and we're going to build further modules to the left. This is what the building, roughly will look like. Not going to spend a lot of time walking you through this diagram, but essentially everything that all the previous speakers had talked about leading up to my presentation is reflected somewhere on this diagram and where those things physically exist. So, James's manholes, right? All the way up to the building that Mike is building and the IX switch that Ivo will operate. This is what where the meet me area in the building, where physical cross-connect cables are run between networks. See all the carriers that are labeled on this diagram. We want to showcase who is in the building because that actually attracts more networks to come into the building. So the more networks are in a place, the more networks want to be in a place. And the good thing is they typically never leave. So once they're here, and that's exciting. So we had our groundbreaking ceremony back in May. This is Mayor Wu speaking. We had a good event, and we're super excited to get started. This is where we want to go. So all of the green dots that you see there on the map are other higher ed institutions that have already committed land to us in the same way that Wichita State has. So just south of here at OSU in Stillwater, my friend Tim Riley's here in the room somewhere, who serves on the school board in Stillwater, Oklahoma. We're going to hopefully do this at OSU as well. Again, getting back to this is the model in Wichita for the rest of the country. So thank you for listening. I hope this gave you a better sense of what's coming, what we're doing here, and thank you for your partnership.